Captain Jake stepped off his ship and into the main corridor of the Galactic Council space station. The station was massive, larger than any structure humanity had ever built. Lights glowed in colors Jake had never seen before. The air smelled strange, a mix of different atmospheres filtered and blended for dozens of species. Jake was not tall. He stood at 5 feet 6 inches, average for a human but small compared to most galactic species. His brown hair was cut short military style. His uniform was simple dark blue with Earth's symbol on the shoulder. On that shoulder sat Luna, his companion. Luna looked like a small animal, something between a cat and a fox. Her fur was silver and seemed to shimmer in the station's strange light. Her eyes were large and bright, showing intelligence that most aliens missed. She weighed maybe 10 pounds and rode comfortably on Jake's shoulder, her tail wrapped loosely around his neck for balance. Other beings walked through the corridor. Most of them were huge. They stood 7 feet tall, their bodies covered in smooth blue skin. They were even taller, with 4 arms and golden eyes that seemed to see everything. They clicked and buzzed as they moved on 6 legs, their bodies armored in natural chitin plates. Many of these aliens stared at Jake as he passed. Some looked curious, others looked amused. A few pointed and whispered to their companions. Jake kept his expression calm and continued walking. Luna's ears twitched, picking up sounds Jake could not hear, but she remained quiet. The council chamber was enormous. The ceiling stretched up so high that Jake could barely see it. Seats arranged in a circle, each one built for a different species. Some seats were large enough to hold creatures the size of elephants. Others had special environments, sealed tanks of liquid or chambers filled with specific gases. Jake found his assigned seat. It was small, tucked between 2 larger sections. The seat for the delegation was on his left. On his right sat the Empire section, currently empty but built large and imposing. A diplomat approached Jake. Her name was Mendoza, a human name she had adopted after working with Earth for several years. She had been assigned to help Earth navigate galactic politics. "Captain," she said, her voice soft but carrying easily in the vast chamber. "Are you ready for this?" "As ready as I can be," Jake replied. He reached up to stroke Luna's head gently. The small creature leaned into his touch, making a soft sound like a purr. Glanced at Luna. "They will ask about her. Many will not understand why you bring a pet to such an important meeting." "Luna is not a pet," Jake said quietly. "She is my companion. There is a difference." Before could respond, a deep sound echoed through the chamber. It was the call to order. Delegates began filing into their seats. The chamber filled with beings of every shape and size. Some walked on legs, others floated. A few rolled or slithered into position. The delegation entered last. They were warriors, that much was obvious. Each one stood 8 feet tall, their bodies covered in armored exoskeletons that looked both natural and terrifying. Plates of dark chitin overlapped across their chests and limbs. Their faces had mandibles that clicked together when they spoke. The war chief was named. He was larger than the others, his armor decorated with markings that Jake assumed showed rank and victories. Looked around the chamber with eyes that held no warmth. When his gaze fell on Jake, he stopped. For a long moment simply stared. Then he began to laugh. It was a harsh sound like rocks grinding together. Others joined him. The sound echoed through the chamber. "This is Earth's representative," his voice boomed across the space. "This tiny creature, I have seen larger prey animals on hunting worlds." Some delegates looked uncomfortable. Others tried to hide smiles. A few looked at Jake with something like pity. Jake stood up. He had to crane his neck to meet eyes across the chamber, but he did not look away. "I am Captain Jake, representing Earth and humanity," he said. His voice was calm, carrying clearly despite not being loud. "We come in peace but stand ready to defend our allies." Laughed again. "Defend? With what? Your species has been part of the galactic community for barely 20 years. You have 12 ships in your entire fleet. I command 40 warships, including dreadnoughts that could level your—" "Size is not everything," Jake replied simply. "Then demonstrate," challenged. "Show the Council what your tiny species can offer. Prove that Earth deserves a place among the galactic powers." The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to Jake. Luna shifted on his shoulder, her body tensing slightly. Jake felt her concern through the bond they shared, a connection most beings could not understand. The Council's chief mediator, an elder named Zenith, spoke up. War Chief, this council was called to address your empire's demands for control of the neutral trade routes, not to challenge Earth's representation. The issues are connected, said. He turned his attention back to Jake. Earth claims friendship with many council races. You say you will defend your allies, but how can such a small, weak species defend anyone? I propose a demonstration in 3 days. Let us see what humanity can truly do. If you cannot prove your worth, perhaps Earth should reconsider its place on this council. Jake felt Luna's muscles bunch under his hand. Her eyes began to glow faintly blue, so faint that only he noticed. He stroked her fur gently, whispering words too quiet for anyone else to hear. The glow faded. Luna relaxed slightly but remained alert. I accept your challenge, Jake said. We will demonstrate in the neutral zone in 3 days. The council may send observers. His mandibles clicked together in what might have been a smile. Excellent. I look forward to this demonstration, Tiny Captain. The rest of the session passed in discussions of logistics and rules of engagement. Jake listened carefully, but his mind was already working through plans. When the session finally ended, he left quickly, Luna still on his shoulder. Back in his small quarters on the station, Jake sat down heavily. Luna jumped from his shoulder to the desk, her eyes meeting his. I know, Jake said softly. I know you could end this right now, but if we show them what you can do, everything changes. The whole galaxy will see you differently, see us differently. Luna made a small sound, not quite a purr, not quite a growl. Through their bond, Jake felt her understanding. She knew what was at stake. She trusted him to make the right choice. Jake pulled up his communication console and sent an encrypted message to Admiral Karen, commander of Earth's small fleet. The message was brief but clear. They had 3 days to prepare. 3 days before the galaxy learned that humanity's greatest strength was not ships or weapons. It was the friendship between a small captain and a creature that could silence entire war fleets with a thought. Jake looked at Luna. She looked back at him with those large, intelligent eyes. 2 years earlier, Jake had been leading a very different kind of mission. Back then, he commanded a small exploration vessel called the Pioneer. His team consisted of 5 specialists, all focused on mapping uncharted regions of space beyond Earth's established territory. They found the facility by accident. The star system had no name, just a catalog number. The 3rd planet was dead, airless and cold. Its single moon showed strange energy readings that caught the attention of Jake's science officer, a woman named Lisa Grant. Captain, these readings do not make sense, Lisa had said, staring at her screens. There is a power source on that moon, something active. They landed on the moon's surface in spacesuits, carrying equipment and weapons. The facility entrance was hidden under centuries of dust and ice. It took them 6 hours to cut through the sealed door. When they finally entered, emergency lights flickered on, powered by systems that should have died millions of years ago. The facility was enormous. Corridors stretched in every direction, built for beings much larger than humans. The walls were covered in symbols and text that their translation software could not read. Everything was old, older than any civilization currently in the galaxy. They found Luna in a chamber deep within the facility. She was inside a stasis pod, the only one still functioning. All around her were empty pods, hundreds of them, their occupants long since dead or gone. The systems keeping Luna alive were failing, power levels dropping toward 0. Jake made the decision to open the pod. His team objected, citing safety protocols, but something in Jake's gut told him they could not leave the creature to die. When the pod opened, Luna emerged slowly, confused and frightened. She was smaller then, barely the size of a kitten. Her silver fur was matted and dull. Her large eyes looked around at the humans with fear. When Lisa tried to approach with a scanner, Luna's eyes suddenly glowed bright blue. Every system in the facility shut down instantly. Lights, computers, life support, everything. The humans stood in complete darkness, their suit lights the only illumination. Power came back after a few seconds, but the message was clear. Luna was dangerous when scared. Jake approached slowly, keeping his movements small and non-threatening. He knelt down, making himself less imposing. He did not reach for Luna. He simply sat there, speaking softly. "It is okay," he said. "We are not going to hurt you. You are safe now." Luna watched him for a long time. Then slowly she moved toward him. She climbed onto his lap and curled up there, shaking. Jake carefully placed his hand on her small body. He felt her relax under his touch. Over the following weeks, Jake's team worked to translate the facility's records. What they learned changed everything. Luna's species was called the Resonants. They were created by an ancient civilization, engineered to be guardians and peacekeepers. Resonants could interface with any technology using only their minds. They could control computers, ships, weapons, anything that ran on power or circuits. The records spoke of a great war. Multiple civilizations tried to control the Resonants, to use them as weapons. The Resonants fought back in self-defense. The war nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy. When it ended, the Resonants chose exile. They put themselves into stasis, hopping to sleep until the galaxy became peaceful enough for their return. Luna was the last one. All the other stasis pods had failed over millions of years. She survived only because her pod was on backup power, drawing from the facility's deep core generators. If Jake's team had arrived even a year later, she would have died too. Jake made a controversial decision. He took Luna with him when they returned to Earth. Military officials wanted to study her to understand her abilities. Scientists wanted to run tests. Politicians saw her as a potential weapon. Jake refused all of them. He argued that Luna was not a thing to be studied or used. She was a living being, intelligent and feeling. She had chosen to trust him, and he would not betray that trust. After months of debate, Earth's government reluctantly agreed. Jake became Luna's official guardian, but everyone understood the real situation. Luna had chosen Jake, not the other way around. Now, 2 years later, Jake sat in Admiral Kren's office aboard her flagship, the Defiant. The ship was Earth's largest military vessel, a heavy cruiser that would be considered medium-sized by galactic standards. Was a veteran officer, her gray hair cut short, her uniform decorated with medals from Earth's brief conflicts with pirates and raiders. "Explain this to me again," said, leaning back in her chair. "Is bringing 40 warships to this demonstration? We have 12 ships, and your plan is what exactly?" "We defend ourselves using conventional weapons first," Jake said. "We show that humanity can fight, but if things get too dangerous, Luna can end it." "And then what?" asked. "The whole galaxy learns that we have Luna. They learn what she can do. What happens next, Captain?" Jake stroked Luna's fur. She sat on the desk between them, watching the conversation with intelligent eyes. "Then we deal with the consequences," Jake said quietly. "But I cannot let destroy our ships and kill our people just to keep a secret. Luna is not a secret weapon. She is my friend. If she chooses to protect us, I will not stop her." Studied Jake for a long moment. She had known him for 5 years, since he was a junior officer. She trusted his judgment, even when she did not agree with his decisions. "They have 3 dreadnoughts," she said. "Each one carries planet-killer weapons. If decides to make an example of us, he could glass the nearest inhabited world just to prove a point." "He will not get the chance," Jake said. He looked at Luna. "Will he?" Luna's eyes glowed blue for a brief moment. Through their bond, Jake felt her certainty. She would not allow such destruction. Sighed, "All right, we prepare for combat, but understand this. If Luna acts, if she shows what she can do, Earth becomes something different to the galaxy. We become either a power to be feared or a target to be eliminated. There is no middle ground." "I know," Jake said, "but hiding Luna's abilities will not keep us safe forever. Better to reveal them now on our terms than to have the secret forced out later." Meanwhile, light years away, War Chief stood on the bridge of his flagship. The ship was called the Dominator, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons. Around him, 40 warships moved in formation, preparing for the journey to the neutral zone. Second in command, a female warrior named, approached him carefully. "War Chief, our intelligence on Earth is limited. They have advanced quickly in 20 years. Perhaps we should consider the possibility that they have capabilities we do not know about." His mandibles clicked in dismissal. "They are small, weak mammals from a backwater world. What capabilities could they possibly have that would concern us? We have fought and conquered dozens of species. Earth will be no different." "But the human captain did not seem concerned when you challenged him," said. "He accepted immediately. That suggests confidence." "Or foolishness," replied. "In 3 days we will demonstrate superiority. The Council will see that challenging us is pointless. Earth will lose its ships and perhaps its seat on the Council. The trade routes will be ours." Said nothing more. She had learned long ago that did not appreciate continued objections, but something about the human captain's calm acceptance bothered her. Humans were known for their caution, their preference for diplomacy. Why would they accept a challenge they could not win? Back on the council station, the elder Zenith sat in his private chambers, reviewing ancient records. His people had the longest memories in the galaxy, archives stretching back millions of years. Most of it was considered mythology, stories too old to verify. But Zenith had been searching his people's databases for references to creatures matching Luna's description. What he found made his blood run cold. The resonants were real. The ancient war was real. And if even one resonance survived, it changed everything about the current galactic power structure. Zenith considered warning the council, but stopped himself. If he was wrong, he would seem like a fool speaking of myths and legends. If he was right, the panic might be worse than the reality. Better to wait and watch. In 3 days, he would know the truth. Jake sat in his quarters that night, unable to sleep. Luna curled up on his chest, her warmth comforting. Through their bond, he felt her emotions. She was not afraid of the coming battle. She was afraid of what would come after. The neutral zone was a region of space claimed by no empire or species. It contained several valuable trade routes that connected different parts of the galaxy. For decades, the zone had been kept neutral by mutual agreement. Now, the Empire wanted to change that agreement by force. Admiral Karen stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching her tactical display. 12 human ships were arranged in a defensive formation. Her heavy cruiser sat at the center. To her left was the destroyer Swift, commanded by Lieutenant Commander Stephen Park. To her right was the frigate Valiant, under Commander Lisa Grant, the same woman who had discovered Luna's facility years ago. The other 9 ships were a mix of destroyers and frigates, all that Earth could spare for this mission. They were modern vessels, equipped with the best technology humanity could produce, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. "Fleet incoming," the sensor officer reported. 40 ships, 3 dreadnoughts, 10 cruisers, 27 destroyers and frigates. Watched as the fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. The ships were brutal in design, covered in armor plating and weapon emplacements. The dreadnoughts were massive, each 1-3 times the size of the Defiant. "All ships maintain formation," ordered calmly. "Weapons ready, but do not lock on. Let them make the first move." Several light years away, on the council station, delegates gathered in an observation room. Massive screens showed the tactical situation in the neutral zone. The ambassador, the elder Zenith, representatives from the Hive, and dozens of others watched the confrontation unfold. Mendoza stood near the screens, her hands clasped behind her back. She looked worried. The human fleet looked tiny compared to the Armada. "This is madness," muttered a delegate. "Why would Earth accept this challenge? They cannot win." Zenith said nothing, but his golden eyes were fixed on a small icon on the tactical display. It represented Jake's ship, the Wanderer, positioned at the edge of the battlefield. The old knew something the others did not. If his suspicions were correct, the outcome of this battle was not as certain as it appeared. War Chief stood on the bridge of the Dominator, satisfaction radiating from his posture. The human fleet looked pathetic compared to his armada. This would be over quickly. "All ships weapons armed," commanded. "Fire warning shots, make them close to the human vessels. I want them to know we could hit them if we choose." Weapons opened fire. Kinetic rounds and plasma bolts streaked across space, passing within meters of human ships. The message was clear: surrender or be destroyed. On the Defiant's bridge, watched the weapons fire pass her ship. Her crew remained calm, well-trained, and disciplined. "Admiral, the Swift is requesting permission to maneuver," reported the communications officer. "Granted," said. "All ships may take evasive action if needed." The Swift moved, its thrusters firing in complex patterns. Commander Park was an excellent pilot, and his ship danced through space, avoiding the warning shots with ease. The other human ships followed his example, showing off their superior maneuverability. His mandibles clicked in anger. "They mock us with their movements. Target the smallest ship, the Swift, fire for effect. Show them we are serious." The fleet opened fire on the Swift for real this time. Kinetic rounds hammered against the destroyer's shields. Plasma bolts superheated sections of armor. Park pushed his ship to its limits, dodging and weaving, but the Swift could not avoid everything. Several hits struck home, causing damage. "Swift is reporting shield damage and hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, the communications officer said. "No casualties yet, but they are in trouble." Made her decision. All ships you are authorized to return fire, target their destroyers and frigates, avoid the dreadnoughts for now. The human fleet responded instantly. Humanity's preferred long-range weapon opened fire. Hypersonic metal slugs crossed the distance in seconds. They had designed their shields to stop energy weapons, but kinetic weapons were different. The slugs punched through shields and tore into armor. 2 destroyers took critical damage. Atmosphere vented from hull breaches. One ship's engines failed, leaving it drifting. The other managed to maintain position but was clearly out of the fight. Simultaneously, human missiles launched from multiple ships. These were not simple explosives. They carried sophisticated electronic warfare packages, jamming enemy sensors and confusing point defense systems. Many missiles got through, striking cruisers and causing significant damage. On the council station, delegates watched in surprise. The humans were fighting back effectively. They were still outnumbered, but they were not helpless prey. "Earth technology is more advanced than we realized," said a military observer. "Their kinetic weapons are extremely effective." Stared at his tactical display, rage building. 2 of his destroyers were damaged. 3 cruisers reported moderate damage. The humans were supposed to be weak, easy to crush. Instead, they were fighting like veterans. "Commit the dreadnoughts," he ordered. "I want those human ships destroyed, all of them." The 3 dreadnoughts moved forward, their massive weapons coming online. When a dreadnought fired, space itself seemed to shake. Energy beams capable of melting through kilometers of rock lanced out, striking the Valiant. The frigate's shields collapsed instantly. Armor melted and boiled away. Hull breaches appeared on multiple decks. Commander Grant's voice came over the fleet channel, strained but controlled. "Valiant to fleet, we have critical damage. Life support failing in sections 2 through 5. Evacuating those areas now." "Valiant, fall back," ordered. "Get behind the fleet, Swift, cover their retreat." The Swift, already damaged, moved to shield the Valiant from further fire. Park maneuvered brilliantly, his ship taking hits meant for the crippled frigate. The Swift's shields were almost gone, engines operating at reduced capacity. Watched her ships being slowly overwhelmed. 2 ships critically damaged, the others taking hits they could not sustain forever. They had proven humanity could fight, but proving a point meant nothing if everyone died in the process. Aboard the Wanderer, Jake sat in his pilot's seat, watching the battle unfold on his screens. Luna paced back and forth on the console, agitated. Through their bond, Jake felt her distress. She hated watching the ships being damaged, knowing she could stop it instantly. "Not yet," Jake whispered. "We give them every chance to back down first." But was not backing down. His next order made Jake's blood run cold. "Prepare planet-killer weapons," commanded. "Target the nearest inhabited system. We will show the Council what happens to those who oppose the Empire." The planet-killer weapons were designed to destroy worlds. They could crack a planet's crust, boil away oceans, render an entire world uninhabitable. Using one as a demonstration, killing billions just to make a point, was an act of pure evil. Second in command protested. "War Chief, that system has 3 billion inhabitants. Firing on them violates every galactic law." "I do not care about their laws," said. "We will show them power, real power." On the Council station, sensors detected the dreadnoughts charging their planet-killer weapons. Panic erupted in the observation room. Delegates shouted at each other, demanding someone do something. But they were too far away. Any Council fleet would take hours to arrive. The humans in the neutral zone were the only ones close enough to act. And they were losing. Jake made his decision. He looked at Luna, meeting her large, intelligent eyes. "I give you permission," he said quietly. "Stop them, stop all of them, but do not destroy any ships. We show mercy even now." Luna's eyes blazed with brilliant blue light. She opened her mouth and released a pulse of energy that was invisible to most sensors. The pulse expanded outward, crossing space at impossible speed. Every ship in the fleet lost power simultaneously. Weapons went offline mid-charge, shields collapsed, main engines shut down, life support switched to emergency backup systems. Communication arrays went dead. 40 warships, including 3 dreadnoughts, became floating hulks in the space of a single heartbeat. The human fleet, untouched by Luna's pulse, maintained full power and weapons. They could have destroyed the helpless ships easily. Instead, they simply held position and waited. On the council station, absolute silence filled the observation room. Delegates stared at the screens, unable to process what they had just witnessed. An entire fleet disabled in an instant. No explosions, no visible weapons, just sudden and total shutdown. Zenith closed his eyes. He had been right. The ancient records were true. A resonant had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. Jake opened a communication channel that broadcast to the fleet, the human fleet, and the council observers. "I am Captain Jake of Earth," he said, his voice calm and clear. "The being on my shoulder is named Luna. She is a resonant, one of the ancient guardians. She is not a pet or a weapon. She is a sentient being who chose to stop this battle because she values life." The council observation room remained silent for nearly a full minute after Jake's broadcast ended. Then everyone started talking at once. Delegates argued, shouted questions, demanded explanations. The carefully maintained order of galactic politics dissolved into chaos. Mendoza, the ambassador who had been helping Earth, stepped forward and raised her voice. "Silence," she called out. "Let us approach this calmly. Captain has provided an explanation. We should hear more before we panic." "Panic," a military commander clicked his mandibles together aggressively. "Earth has hidden a weapon capable of disabling entire fleets. That creature should be under council control immediately." "Luna is not a weapon," said firmly. "Captain was clear about that. She is a sentient being." "Who just disabled 40 warships with a thought," another delegate countered. "Sentient or not, that kind of power cannot remain with one species." The elder Zenith finally spoke, his deep voice cutting through the arguments. "Before we discuss control or custody, perhaps we should learn the truth. I have reviewed my people's ancient records. The resonants are real, not mythology, and their history is important." Every delegate turned to face him. Zenith activated a holographic display, showing images and text from archives millions of years old. "The resonants were created as guardians," Zenith explained. "They maintained peace and prevented catastrophic wars, but several civilizations tried to capture and control them to use them as weapons. The resonants defended themselves. The resulting conflict nearly sterilized our entire galaxy." He paused, letting that sink in. "The resonants went into exile or stasis to prevent such a tragedy from happening again. If Luna is the last of her kind, as Captain suggests, then we must be extremely careful. Attempting to control her could lead to exactly the kind of disaster our ancestors barely survived." Fear rippled through the observation room. Several delegates immediately began reconsidering their demands for Luna's custody. Meanwhile, in the neutral zone, Admiral received Jake's request for a secure communication channel. She granted it immediately. "Admiral, I need you to stand down," Jake said. "Do not approach the ships or make any aggressive moves. Luna disabled their weapons, not their life support. They are safe." "Understood," replied. "But you realize what you have just started. Every species in the galaxy will now be focused on you and Luna." "I know," Jake said quietly. "But I could not let fire planet-killer weapons at innocent people. Some choices are more important than keeping secrets." On the Dominator, War Chief sat in his command chair, surrounded by darkness and emergency lighting. His crew worked frantically to restore systems, but nothing responded. It was as if every circuit, every computer, every piece of technology had simply stopped listening to commands. Approached him carefully. Even in defeat was dangerous. "War Chief, we have 1 hour until power returns, according to the human captain. Our life support is stable. We are in no immediate danger." Said nothing for a long time. Finally he spoke, his voice quiet and thoughtful rather than angry. "I underestimated them completely. I saw a small human and assumed weakness. I saw a small creature and assumed it was a pet. I was a fool." "What will you do when power returns?" asked. "That depends on what the human captain wants," said. "We are at his mercy. If he chooses to destroy us, we cannot stop him. But he said Luna showed mercy. Perhaps there is an opportunity here." Looked surprised. "You would negotiate with them after this humiliation." "Humiliation is better than extinction," replied. "I learned that lesson today." Back on the council station, the emergency session had moved from the observation room to the main council chamber. Jake was summoned to attend via holographic link. His image appeared in the center of the chamber, Luna visible on his shoulder. The council chief mediator, a named Cole, spoke first. Captain, the Council must address this situation. Many delegates believe Luna should be placed under Council protection and oversight. They argue that such power is too great for any single species to control. Jake looked around at the assembled delegates. Some looked fearful. Others looked calculating, already thinking about how they might gain influence over Luna. Luna is not property to be controlled, Jake said firmly. She is a sentient being with her own thoughts, feelings, and agency. She chose to accompany me. She chose to stop the battle. Those were her decisions, not mine. Can you prove she is truly sentient? Demanded the commander. Can she communicate, make independent decisions? Jake looked at Luna. Through their bond, he felt her response. She hopped down from his shoulder onto the table in front of him. Her eyes glowed blue, and suddenly every screen in the council chamber displayed the same message in multiple languages. I am Luna. I am the last resonant. I choose to stay with Jake because he treats me with kindness and respect. I will not be controlled, studied, or used as a weapon. I wish only to prevent unnecessary violence and protect innocent lives. The message remained on the screens for 10 seconds, then vanished. Luna jumped back onto Jake's shoulder, her eyes returning to normal. Silence filled the chamber. The proof was undeniable. Luna was not only sentient, but capable of communication far beyond what most species could achieve. This changes everything, Cole said softly. Mendoza seized the moment. Then the council must pass new legislation. Luna should be recognized as a sovereign individual with full rights under galactic law. Just as we recognize the rights of all sentient species, we must extend those same rights to her. But what about security concerns? Asked another delegate. Luna has power that could threaten any civilization. Then perhaps we should ask what Luna wants, Zenith said. All eyes turned to the small silver creature on Jake's shoulder. Luna's eyes glowed again. New text appeared on the screens. I want to help prevent wars and protect innocent lives. I do not want to be forced to hurt anyone. Jake understands this. He has never asked me to attack without cause. He protects my freedom while I help protect others. This is the relationship I want. The council debated for hours. Some delegates continued to argue for restrictions or oversight. Others, swayed by Luna's own words and Zenith's historical warnings, advocated for recognizing her autonomy. Eventually, Mendoza proposed a compromise. The Resonant Autonomy Act would recognize Luna and any other resonants discovered as sovereign individuals with full legal rights. They could live where they chose, ally with whom they chose, and could not be forced into service or study by any government. Jake would be designated Luna's official liaison, but only because Luna had chosen him. The vote was close, but the act passed. For the first time in galactic history, a single individual was granted sovereignty based not on representing a species or government, but on her own inherent rights and power. While the council debated, Jake received a private communication request. It was from Jake accepted, curious about what the war chief wanted. His image appeared, still surrounded by emergency lighting on his dark bridge. The proud warrior looked different now, not broken but changed somehow. Captain, said formally, I request a private conversation, no intermediaries. Granted, Jake replied. What do you want to discuss? Was quiet for a moment, clearly choosing his words carefully. I underestimated you and your companion. I mocked your size and assumed you were weak. I was wrong, completely and utterly wrong. Jake waited, saying nothing. I must explain something, continued. My aggression, my demands for territory, they are not born from greed. Thee is dying. Our sun is expanding, slowly but inevitably. In 2 generations, our world will be uninhabitable. We need new territory for our people. I chose conquest because I saw no other path. Jake considered this. It was the first time anyone had explained the real reason behind expansion. Why not simply ask the council for help? Jake asked. Request colonization rights to uninhabited systems. Pride admitted. We are warriors, we do not beg, but today you showed me that strength is not always about weapons and warships. You had the power to destroy my entire fleet. Instead, you showed mercy. That is a kind of strength I did not understand before. What are you asking, War Chief? I am asking if Earth would mediate for us, said. Help us petition the Council for territorial rights, not through conquest but through negotiation. In exchange, we would offer our military strength to protect Council worlds, a fair exchange rather than a demand. Jake was surprised. He had not expected this outcome. "I will speak with Admiral and my government," Jake said. "If they agree, I will help you present this proposal to the Council." Relief showed in his posture. "Thank you, Captain. You are wiser than I gave you credit for. All humans are, perhaps." The communication ended. Jake sat back in his chair, stroking Luna's fur gently. She purred softly, content. Admiral contacted him moments later. What did want? Jake explained the conversation, was quiet for a long moment. "If we can turn the from enemies into allies, it would change the entire political balance of the galaxy," she said. "But can we trust them?" "I think is genuine," Jake replied. "Luna would sense deception. She has not warned me." "Then we will try," decided. "Earth has always preferred diplomacy to war. This could be our chance to prove that to everyone." 3 weeks passed after the confrontation in the neutral zone. Those 3 weeks changed the galaxy more than the previous 1,000 years had. Jake remained on the council station, working closely with various delegates and ambassadors. Luna stayed with him always, sometimes on his shoulder, sometimes exploring the station under his watchful eye. Everywhere they went, people stared. Some with fear, others with curiosity, a few with barely concealed greed. The council chambers buzzed with activity as delegates debated the petition. War Chief attended these sessions, standing tall but speaking with unexpected humility. He explained his people's situation in detail. Their dying sun, the desperation of watching their slowly become uninhabitable, the pressure to secure their future. Many delegates were skeptical. They had spent decades building a reputation as aggressive conquerors. Trusting them now seemed foolish. But Jake spoke on their behalf. He explained that desperation often drove species to extreme actions. He pointed out that they were offering something valuable in return for colonization rights. Their military strength could protect vulnerable council worlds from pirates and raiders. Mendoza supported the proposal as well. She argued that refusing to help a dying civilization went against everything the Galactic Council claimed to stand for. If they rejected the now, they proved that the Council only helped those who were already powerful. The debate lasted for days. Finally, a compromise emerged. The Empire would receive colonization rights to 3 uninhabited star systems. These systems had planets suitable for settlement, but required significant terraforming work. In exchange, they would sign a 20-year treaty committing their military forces to protecting designated Council trade routes and responding to threats against Council members. It was not everything had wanted, but it was enough. His people would have new worlds to settle. Their civilization would survive. When the vote passed, approached Jake in the corridor outside the council chambers. The massive warrior looked down at the small human captain. "Captain, I owe you a debt I can never fully repay," said formally. "You could have destroyed my fleet. You could have left my people to die on a burning world. Instead, you showed mercy and helped us find a better path." Jake extended his hand, a human gesture of friendship. Understood it and clasped Jake's hand carefully, mindful of the size difference. "Every species deserves a chance to survive," Jake said simply. "We are all just trying to do what is best for our people." "You are wise beyond your years," replied, "and beyond your size." Jake smiled at that. "My size has never been what matters. What matters is what you choose to do with whatever strength you have." Luna, on Jake's shoulder, made a soft chirping sound, looked at the small creature with respect bordering on awe. "May I ask her a question?" said. Jake looked at Luna. Through their bond, he felt her curiosity. She wanted to hear what would say. "You can ask," Jake said. "She understands everything." Knelt down, bringing his face level with Luna. It was a gesture of respect, this proud warrior making himself lower than the small creature. "I judged you wrongly," said to Luna. "I saw you as a pet, a powerless animal. I was blind and foolish. Can you forgive me?" Luna's eyes glowed softly. On nearby screens, text appeared in both human and languages. "You learned and changed. That is all anyone can do. Yes, I forgive you." Bowed his head. When he stood, Jake could see emotion in the warrior's eyes. Meanwhile, Admiral received new orders from Earth. The human government, recognizing the changed situation, was establishing a new diplomatic corps. This special division would focus on managing relationships with ancient or powerful non-humanoid species. They wanted Jake to lead this initiative. Called Jake to discuss the offer. They met in a private conference room, Luna sleeping peacefully on the table between them. They want you to build an entire department from scratch, explained. Training diplomats to work with beings like Luna, establishing protocols for first contact with other ancient or powerful species. It is a massive responsibility. Why me? Jake asked. I am just a ship captain. I stumbled into this situation by accident. You stumbled into it, yes, agreed. But you handled it perfectly. You treated Luna with respect and kindness. You protected her autonomy while helping her integrate into galactic society. You turned a potential catastrophe into a diplomatic triumph. That makes you exactly the right person for this job. Jake looked at Luna. She woke up, sensing his attention through their bond. Her large eyes met his. What do you think? Jake asked her. Luna's eyes glowed. Text appeared on the room's display screen. I think you would be good at helping others understand beings like me, and I would help you. We are partners. Jake smiled. Partners, I like that. He accepted the position. Earth's government gave him broad authority to recruit staff, establish guidelines, and represent humanity in matters involving ancient or powerful entities. It was the kind of responsibility that would have terrified him a year ago. Now, with Luna beside him, he felt ready for the challenge. The Galactic Council held a formal reception to celebrate the new peace accords with the Empire. The event took place in the station's largest hall, decorated with symbols from every member species. Delegates mingled, discussing politics and trade, while servers offered food and drinks suitable for dozens of different biologies. Jake attended wearing his formal uniform. Luna rode on his shoulder, groomed and looking content. As they entered the hall, conversations quieted. People turned to look at them, the smallest delegate and the most powerful being in the galaxy, walking together as equals. Mendoza greeted them warmly. Captain, you have become quite famous. Everyone wants to speak with you. They want to speak with Luna, Jake corrected gently. I am just the person she chose to stand beside. You are too modest, said. Luna chose you for good reasons. Your compassion, your wisdom, your unwillingness to exploit her power for personal gain. Those qualities are rare. Throughout the evening, various delegates approached Jake and Luna. Some were genuinely interested in learning about resonance and their history. Others clearly wanted to establish connections for political advantage. Jake handled all of them with polite firmness, making it clear that Luna was not a tool to be used by anyone. Zenith, the elder, sat with Jake for a long conversation. The ancient being shared more historical records about the resonance, giving Jake context about Luna's species and their role in galactic history. Your presence here has awakened old memories, Zenith said. My people remember when Resonance maintained peace across the galaxy, but we also remember the war that drove them away. You must be careful, young captain. There are those who will try to manipulate you and Luna for their own purposes. I understand, Jake said, but Luna is not alone anymore. She has me and she has Earth standing behind her. We will protect her. Good, Zenith said. Perhaps that is why she chose humanity. You are young enough to lack the cynicism of older civilizations, but wise enough to understand the responsibility you carry. Arrived at the reception later, accompanied by a small group of officers including. The war chief looked uncomfortable in the diplomatic setting, clearly more at home on a ship's bridge than at a formal party. He approached Jake directly, ignoring the nervous looks from other delegates. Captain, may I introduce my second-in-command, Commander? She was the one who advised caution before our confrontation. I should have listened to her. Bowed her head respectfully. It is an honor to meet you properly, Captain, and you as well, Luna. Luna chirped softly in acknowledgement. I wanted to tell you, continued, that our first colony ships will launch next month. My people are grateful for the chance you helped provide. Many families will survive because of your intervention. I am glad I could help, Jake said. Every species deserves a future. A young child, perhaps 6 years old in human terms, approached the group nervously. She looked up at Luna with wide, curious eyes. Excuse me, the child said in a small voice. Is that really Luna, the one from the stories? The girl's mother tried to pull her back. I am sorry, Captain. She has heard so much about Luna and wanted to see her. Jake smiled warmly. It is okay. He looked at Luna. Do you mind? Luna hopped down from Jake's shoulder onto the table, bringing herself level with the child's face. Her eyes glowed softly, and gentle text appeared on a nearby screen. "Hello, what is your name?" "I am," the child said, her fear melting into delight. "You are so pretty, your fur looks like starlight." Luna made a pleased sound. She leaned forward, allowing the child to pet her gently, giggled with joy, her small hand stroking the soft silver fur. The moment caught the attention of everyone nearby. Here was the galaxy's most powerful being, choosing to interact with a child, choosing gentleness over intimidation, choosing to bring joy instead of fear. Jake watched the interaction and felt something settle in his chest. This was why Luna had stopped the battle, not for politics or power, but because she valued life, because she wanted to protect the innocent, because, despite her immense power, she understood that true strength lay in choosing when not to use it. As the evening wound down, Jake stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars. Luna sat beside him on the railing, her tail wrapped around his arm for balance. "We did it," Jake said softly. "We changed things, they have a future. The Council passed laws protecting your rights. And maybe, just maybe, we showed everyone that power does not have to mean domination." Luna's eyes glowed in response. Text appeared on Jake's personal communicator screen, visible only to him. "You showed me that not all beings want to use power for control. You showed me that kindness and respect matter more than strength. Thank you for being my friend, Jake." Jake felt tears prickling his eyes. He reached over and gently stroked Luna's head. "Thank you for choosing me," he replied. "I promise I will always protect you, always respect your choices, always stand beside you no matter what comes." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. The smallest delegate and the last resonant, a partnership built on mutual respect, trust, and friendship. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Size did not matter. Physical strength did not matter. What mattered was character, compassion, and the courage to show mercy even when you had the power to destroy. Jake had been mocked for his size. The aliens had laughed at him, dismissed him, thought him weak and insignificant. But he had proven them all wrong, not through violence or aggression, but through wisdom and the strength to choose peace. And Luna, the creature they thought was just a pet, had shown the entire galaxy that the greatest power was not the ability to silence war fleets. It was the choice to do so only when necessary, to protect rather than conquer, to guard life rather than destroy it. Together, they had changed the galaxy, and their partnership was just beginning. As they left the observation deck and headed back to their quarters, delegates they passed nodded respectfully. The mockery was gone. In its place was something Jake valued far more: genuine respect. The smallest delegate had carried the greatest responsibility, and had done so with grace, wisdom, and compassion. And the galaxy was better for it. The council session ended with multiple historic decisions. The Resonant Autonomy Act was passed. Its petition for peaceful colonization rights was scheduled for discussion. And Earth, the smallest member of the galactic community, had suddenly become one of its most influential voices. As Jake prepared to leave the council station, Zenith approached him privately. "You handled this well, young captain," the ancient said. "But understand that your life has changed forever. Luna is precious and unique. Many will seek to befriend you simply to gain influence over her. Others will see you as a threat. You must be constantly vigilant." "I know," Jake said, "but Luna deserves to be protected. She deserves freedom and respect. If I must spend my life ensuring she has those things, then that is what I will do." Zenith nodded approvingly. Then perhaps there is hope for this galaxy after all. Jake paused, letting that information sink in. "Your ships will regain power in exactly 1 hour. Life support is functioning on backup systems. You are in no danger. Luna could have destroyed your fleet. Instead, she showed mercy. I hope you will remember that." On the Dominator's bridge stood in darkness, lit only by emergency lights. His pride lay shattered around him. He had mocked the human captain for being small and weak. Now he understood how badly he had miscalculated. The smallest delegate had just defeated his entire fleet without firing a single shot. "I will protect you," Jake whispered. "No matter what happens, no matter who tries to take you or use you, I will protect you. That is a promise." Luna's eyes glowed softly in the darkness. She understood. More than that, she trusted him completely. 3 days until the demonstration. 3 days until the galaxy learned that the smallest delegate carried the greatest responsibility. 3 days, he said. Then we show them who we really are. Luna's eyes glowed blue for just a moment, then faded back to normal. In that moment, Jake saw his own determination reflected back at him. The galaxy thought humans were small and weak. In 3 days, they would learn how wrong they were.